Hi guys, I'm here today to talk about subbing and dubbing in film, so let's get started. Let me start with a brief overview. Subbing is essentially about translating the language that the film is initially spoken in to the language of the viewer and placing that text on screen, while dubbing replaces the original language of the film with the language of the new audience in the audio. Various countries made choices around the 1920s and 30s to decide how they wanted to show foreign films, as films evolved from being silent movies to being talkies, which incorporated dialogue. These decisions affect us to this very day. For some countries, the decision was based off of financial need. Subtitling doesn't require as much time and money as dubbing does, and for other nations, it was based off of political reasoning. Dubbing over foreign films makes sure that other nations' ideology doesn't enter their own while making the film seem more local at the same time. But whatever the reason that a country picks subbing or dubbing to present foreign films to home audiences, people have often developed their own preferences, and the debate for one over the other has grown. Let's start with subbing. Subbing, as I mentioned earlier, is cheaper and easier to do, but that doesn't really mean much to us, the audience. Does it? In comparison to dubbing, subbing is so much easier to do that today there are even several groups of fan subbers that work to provide subtitles for films for other fans, sometimes for little or even no money. This makes it so much easier for the general audience to obtain some foreign films. Others also argue that subbing keeps the film closer to its original format, as it keeps the original language playing in the audio, and therefore is able to keep some of its natural culture that is being presented in the film. To expand off of this, some people even use subtitles to try to learn foreign languages, although it might not be the best way to learn the language, as films often use colloquial language or conversational slang that will be out of place if used in an actual conversation with a native. Subs can also help explain the natural culture by the way of translators, which, while technically not an actual part of the subtitle, are still important as they help convey the message of the film from a more cultural perspective, although in some cases it might be taken too far. Although that might have been an extreme and exaggerated example, it does show one of the downsides of subtitles. It might not take as much effort for groups to provide them, but it requires much more attention on behalf of the viewers. The audience must read the subtitles all while taking in the rest of the film, its soundtrack, the actions of the characters, and the setting. Like, wait, what just happened? I just looked away for 1 second. What did I just miss? Why is she eating makeup? This is actually one of the biggest reasons that people prefer dubbing over subbing, although there are other reasons as well. For example, some people prefer dubbing due to aesthetics. Because dubbing replaces the audio of a film from one language to another, it becomes somewhat based on the quality of the voices. And just like how some actors might be perceived to appear more attractive than others, some voices can appeal to an audience more than others can. Dubbing can also improve a film when the original language of a film doesn't match its cultural context. For example, the film The Valkyrie is about an assassination attempt on Hitler and is set largely in Nazi Germany. However, the dialogue within the movie is actually entirely in English.
You could serve Germany or the Fuhrer, not both.
It's just that that had you sent here.
Which is rather strange considering the surrounding circumstances. When the movie is dubbed into German, the whole film becomes more realistic, and it makes sense that the dubbed version is viewed more appreciatively than the original is.
Ich bin Offizier, aber durch den Dienst an meinem Land wurde ich zum Verräter an meinem Gewissen. Hier. Für Hitlers Deutschland wird die Sonne nie wieder aufgehen. Kann ich auf Sie zählen?
At the same time, the opposite is possible. When a film takes the effort to be culturally aware and involve multiple languages, it loses a bit of its meaning when everything is dubbed into one language. The most recent addition to the X-Men series, Days of Future Past, is set mostly in the 1970s, which is a period of historical tension after the Vietnamese War. The film takes great care to include that in its plot and contains portions of dialogue in Vietnamese, French, and more to emphasize the roles that different nations played during this time. However, this is all lost when it is dubbed in the Hindi version, when everything is spoken in one language. It almost makes us forget that there is something fundamentally unique to each culture and its abilities to communicate. For example, in this clip of the Hindi dub, despite being Vietnamese diplomats in France, they never speak in different languages to communicate to other foreign diplomats or the natives there. As a whole, although both subbing and dubbing are very helpful in understanding foreign films, they both have one severe drawback. Films are often built upon the cultural identity of the country they are produced by, whether we notice it or not, and culture is about more than just spoken words. Even when language is the only thing being translated, There are still certain limits these techniques face, as language is also full of colloquialisms and idioms that don't exist in every culture. A key line from the movie Frozen from the song Love is an Open Door foreshadows the true personality of the Prince Hans and his relationship with Anna.
I mean, it's crazy. We finish each other's
Sandwiches.
That's what I was gonna say.
I've never met someone who thinks so much.
However, this line is actually very difficult to translate to other languages, as there are few equivalents to this phrase.
教えてよ何が好きか
サンドイッチ。
僕と同じじゃないか Comment expliquer
Quoi
qu'un inconnu finisse
Toutes vos phrases.
C'est ce que j'allais vous dire.
Je ne connais personne qui me ressemble autant.
No matter how good our sub or dub is, unfortunately neither of them can translate nonverbal cultural context. In the end, we have to understand that a movie is not just based off of dialogue, so already when you move a movie from its origin to a foreign market, the culture and context is already entirely different. Generally, understanding the entire movie in its proper context is difficult without growing up and experiencing all that culture, including language, firsthand. When it comes down to the big debate between subbing and dubbing, in the end, it's all about what you find preferable. It's impossible to completely understand a foreign film just like the way it was when it was playing in its original theaters. But it's up to you to decide what you think is the best way to watch a film that's not in a language or culture that you know. Personally, I prefer subtitles. I just like being able to listen to the original language, although sometimes I do admit that it is a bit difficult to focus and read the subs and listen to the audio all at the same time. So what do you guys think? Do you like subs or dubs, or do you not have a preference? Maybe more importantly, do you think there's any other possible way to be able to convey the culture that a film was produced in when bringing it overseas to a foreign market? That's a pretty heavy question, so for now, I'll be thinking as I'm reading my subtitles.